Hello and welcome to another episode of Funbearable. I'm Brad Rohr.
And I'm Chuck Staten. How you doing, Brad?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to record back in the Comedy Connection again.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We recorded recently in that library in New Haven. Was it technically Fairhaven? Or was that just the Fairhaven Library?
Fairhaven Library in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah, New Haven, Connecticut. And we met there because it's halfway between Rhode Island, where Brad lives, and New York, where I live, as we explained. And man, that room, what was up with that room?
I don't know, but I do know that Craig did a great job with green screen, and you asked for flamingos, a coconut
Craig, our
drink.
editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the flamingos and the hat.
The room was the basement of an underfunded library. That's it.
Yeah, it was very dusty and dirty and musty and warm. The table we were on, we should have wiped it down.
We should have.
It was real gross.
Yep.
We appreciate the space, though. We
Yep.
appreciate it. It was just, the reason I'm saying it is because it was like hard for me to breathe in there.
Yeah.
So if you watch those episodes and I'm like, yeah, so, and it's like you hear my voice.
Oh, I thought you were trying to be Rick from Rick and Morty.
Morty.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't trying to be Rick. It was, I just want people to know if I was talking like that, I kind of felt it more afterwards. And I was like, oh God, I wonder how much that affected the podcast.
A lot.
But I was like,
A lot of people have reached out to me privately and they're like, hey, you got to get rid of Chuck.
wow.
Yeah.
He's talking weird.
He's talking
like Rick.
He talked weird in 2 episodes.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
exactly.
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. It was just unfortunate that we had the audio issues and then we had that. Although I don't think it was super noticeable or anything. I just wanted to let people know I was like, I'm not like getting old. I mean, I am getting old.
You sure are.
But that's not why I was talking like that.
Yeah.
I was talking like that because of the dust, and the heat. But yeah, man. So what's new with you?
Not a lot. The NFL draft was a couple weeks ago, which is one of my favorite weekends of the year. We're recording this the day before the NFL draft, so I don't know what actually happened, but let's assume the Bears did great.
Wow.
I got my shirt on here.
Didn't they already have a good team? What do they have to? Who are they drafting? What are they doing?
Well, here's the thing. They lost some people that free agents. Their center retired at age 27.
Yeah.
So they need some new defensive players and they need a new center. And then it's like, who else? Somebody might be good. That's just young.
Yeah.
Presumably like the Patriots took some new people, whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird. I say that the NFL draft is my favorite weekend, one of my favorite weekends of the year, because there's so much strategy, even though nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like where they're like, all right, our first pick is Chuck Staten. And then it's 8 minutes talking about how good Chuck Staten's going to be on whatever team he's on. And then the next pick is Brad Rohr. And they spend 8 minutes. And it's like 15 seconds of like anticipation, 5 seconds of joy, and then 7.5 minutes to wait for the next thing. And that's night one.
Yeah, I heard, so WrestleMania happened recently.
Yes.
And I see all these things that are like, there was an hour and 8 minutes of wrestling and it was a 3 hour and 52-minute show.
Yeah, it was
something like that.
The first night, people were really unhappy with the amount of wrestling versus the amount of ads versus the time for entrances.
Yeah.
The second night was a little more balanced.
Yeah.
I read about it. I can't pay these prices for what they're charging for premium live events these days. So
ESPN.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, the NFL draft, it used to be I would just, I make one of the pizzas I get from my favorite place back home and sit and just have the TV on for 4 hours and look up 32 times.
Yeah.
And then, do it again on Friday night and then Saturday afternoon, kind of have it on, but I'm reading and not really paying attention because the players there are less likely to make an impact.
Yeah.
This year, however, I have an improv show on Thursday night 1 of the NFL draft. I have an improv show on Friday night 2 of the NFL draft. Then I have an improv meeting and rehearsal on Saturday afternoon. So I'm missing the live version of the entire time. But if you were like, well, why don't you just follow it on your phone? There's literally no difference. You are 100% correct.
There's a little bit of a difference. I get it.
Yeah.
Glancing, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I get that you're missing it, man. I mean, I guess it is different than a sporting event because no one's playing whatsoever.
Doesn't
They're just
matter.
making choices.
And then it's like, how do these choices reflect to how I thought the choices would go, how the experts I trust thought the choices would go.
Yeah.
And, I love the idea of like, all right, well, I was picking 25th, but you have the 29th pick and you want to trade with me, so you're going to give me the 108th pick.
Yeah.
Is that a fair trade? Like that kind of stuff. It appeals to the kind of logistics part of my brain.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's I would feel the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch New Rock Stars. It is a YouTube channel, and they make predictions about upcoming movies and stuff like that. And I'm always like, oh, interesting. Is that going to be what happens?
Right.
And it's very similar to that, I feel. Yeah, man. Recently with me, it's so funny because we recorded a couple weeks ago. Not too much has happened.
Oh yeah, your voice sounded terrible that day.
That's right.
Yep.
But I did go to Q West.
Yes, the comedy festival.
And I'm kind of hesitant to talk about this, so I'm trying to figure out a way to talk about this.
Okay.
Not the festival in general,
Right.
just things I'm dealing with. It's interesting. So basically, if I think most people that are listening know Tell 'em Steve Dave, the podcast I work for.
Right.
It's a very big podcast. And I've been working with there this summer 10 years.
Wow.
10 years ago, we went to Manhattan and shot the Live at Gramercy Blu-ray.
Yep.
Can you believe how long that is?
My
ago?
camera was crooked the entire time.
Was it?
I don't know.
I mean,
you know, it was the second show. It was crooked because I took it off to follow, I think, Brian Johnson up the aisle.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it back on the tripod. And I'm like, well, it's resting there now.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I obviously
you would have
adjusted
fixed it.
everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 years working with this podcast. And it's a really interesting world with Tell 'em Steve Dave because it's, you know, there's three hosts that are the main guys. And it's two guys that were on the TV show Comic Book Men on AMC, Walt and Brian, and one guy who's on Impractical Jokers, Q. And those are the three guys. But the podcast, I think, has been around since 2010.
Yeah, right around
10 or
there.
11. I think it's 10. So they've been around for 16 years. And through that time, they've added a lot of like side characters that come on here and there. Like probably the main one is this guy, Sunday Jeff. Then there's like a guy named Frank Five. There's all these different people that have been added to the roster of people that are production people behind the scenes, as well as people that are on microphone and stuff like that. And so, you know, I've become friends with everybody pretty much over the years. And I think we have a really good group in terms of people being pleasant and people being nice to each other. Like, I think that some people have been involved that were dickish that are no longer involved, really.
Brad Rohr. Yep.
I'm not even, there are people I never even met. So I don't know. There are people that, So everyone that's part of it is pretty nice. It's pretty easy to get along with, I guess. There's not any like big rifts. I mean, there is one big rift right now, but it's like, as a rule, there's not.
Right.
So it's it's pretty good because that means whenever you go film, whenever you go record, it's pretty even keeled and everyone's cool with each other. So anyway, Q West is the guy Q from the podcast.
Right.
He throws this comedy festival weekend in Key West. Last year was the first year. We did an episode about it. This was the second year. And the first year I was working it. I was filming it. And I was working like 10 to 12 hours a day every day. I was the only filming person and I was trying to capture everything. And, you know, I guess it was hard to tell exactly what we needed to get.
Right.
So I got as much as everything that I could. And I also kind of thought like, well, this is the first festival. What if this goes on for years and years?
Right.
At the 10th festival, are we going to want to have all this footage to cut like a nostalgia thing or like kind of bring it back? Plus they do, you know, this festival is about comedy. So there's this big theater called the Key West Theater. And from like 8 to 11 or 11:30 each night, there's podcasts and there's stand-up comics and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And year one was really, really fun. I was on the opening podcast.
Yes.
As like a producer role, as like a side guy with Q. It was a podcast we were working on for a little bit called 5 Stupid Questions that actually never came to fruition, but we did it live there. And I think he did it live at another live event like Taste Funny, which is our buddy Jiggy, who's a stand-up comic, he was on our old podcast. He also is like the partner in throwing Q West every year. It's Q and Jiggy. It's their comedy festival. So, and then last year I was also on the closing one, which was a podcast called Space Monkeys. And it's two of the guys from Tell 'em Steve Dave, Brian and Q, without Walt. Walt doesn't go. Walt doesn't fly, so he didn't fly down there. And also, Walt doesn't really want to do live episodes, which is well publicized on Tell 'em Steve Dave. So Natalie, my girlfriend, and I went down this year, and it's a very, very, very expensive trip.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess because the Key West airport is so small, there's fewer planes going to it. And because it's also like a vacation destination, the hotels are super expensive.
Yeah. So
what we did for the first time, we actually flew Spirit.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Bold.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we got this like the cheapest hotel we could possibly find.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? It's weird because Spirit.
For the plane, did you have to like spin the propeller yourself to get started and then run on?
Yeah, exactly.
You got a leather helmet, goggles, a scarf.
Yeah, and there was only those like open things that you sit in on top of the plane.
Yep.
No, but I mean, what do you think Spirit is? To me, Spirit is known as like having a ton of cancellations and late flights.
I think of it as a budget airline that you get what you pay for.
Well, what do you think that means? How does that manifest?
I think it's poor customer service. I think it's they nickel and dime you with fees for different bags and weight requirements. I think I don't know if they might provide snacks on their flight. I don't know. Oh, okay. But like it's like flying a Greyhound bus.
That's what people say.
Yeah.
And I see that, but I'm kind of in my head, I'm like, well, if you're smart enough to price out your bags when you book, like if you're like American Airlines is, let's say you said American Airlines is $400 for a round trip ticket and you get a carry-on. Yep. If you look at Spirit and it's $300 for a round trip and it's $75 each way for your carry-on, then you just do the math and don't go Spirit.
Right.
So to me, even though they do nickel and dime you, you should be able to tell.
Yeah.
You should be able to be like, well, this is how much I'm going to spend.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about like, what if you don't need that?
Yeah.
What if you don't need a carry-on? What if you don't need checked? By the way, I meant checked luggage.
Yeah,
when I said that, or checked luggage. What if you don't need all that stuff?
Right.
That's a question too. The seats are very straight up, like a bus. I actually didn't mind the seats.
Right.
We have the spine issue, and I like a seat that goes close to my lumbar. But the Spirit was fine on the way there.
Okay.
It was fine.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Hooters Airlines.
I know that it happened.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything else besides
it
that.
Flew from I know it flew from Gary, Indiana, like to Orlando or Myrtle Beach or some golf destination.
Yeah.
And they were appealing to, boomers in their 40s and male boomers in their 40s and 50s going on these golf trips.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal because I lived 25 minutes away from the Gary airport.
Yeah.
And so like in Northwest Indiana, it's like, hey, like, isn't this funny? Number one.
For sure. That's
and number
the only
two,
thing I think of.
Won't this help the economy? It was funny. It did not help the local economy.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Did they serve wings on the flight?
I don't know if they served wings. I feel like their flight attendants were dressed in the shorts and the tights and the shirts and everything. That was part of the allure. But
Hooters is a weird one.
Yep.
Hooters, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around who is like excited for Hooters.
I mean, probably 16-year-old Brad was excited, but that's because I knew someone who worked there and it made me feel like a cool guy.
Oh, that's interesting.
One of the women I had worked with at the pizza place then got a job at Hooters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm friends with a hostess. No big deal.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I guess also 16-year-olds, like you were kind of, like you said, they also, it's like they're not going to go to strip clubs.
Nope.
They're also probably super intimidated by attractive women. So maybe that's the people that go there.
Maybe I'm still 16.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe that's partly the case.
Yep.
But yeah, so we flew down to Key West for this comedy festival. This year I'm not working.
Right. You can take some time, hang out with Nat.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's all the Tell 'em Steve Dave fans pretty much. So you have, our podcast, which is like, they release it semi-weekly. I'd say they maybe do 35 episodes a year as their main podcast. But where I am involved mostly, because their main podcast is usually just the three of them, maybe someone else, like a guest, but it's all audio. There's not a lot of production that needs to happen.
Right.
And there's not a ton of guests. Whereas they also have a Patreon, where they have paywalled content. That is 52 weeks a year. And that's always a rotating cast of all the people that are involved, right? And I host... currently, I host a show on there. I was hosting another show. We might do more of them, but I'm not even sure. My show that I host now is called Questions and Answers because our listeners are called Ants.
Yes.
So it's Ant, A-N-T-Z, Answers. And my old show was called the TESD Tapes, T-E-S-D, stands for Tell 'em Steve Dave, the TESD Tapes. Yeah, and I've been involved for 10 years, mostly doing behind the scenes work, doing like directing projects and editing projects, stuff like that. Because they're even though they're podcasts, they're extremely produced.
Yeah.
Like we might do a podcast about Happy Days and there might be like 120 inserts of Happy Days clips. And I like to make really produced intros and outros.
Yeah.
It makes them feel bigger. They're almost in between like talking head documentaries sometimes about like the subjects and podcasts. For my projects personally, I try to make them as produced as possible.
Yeah.
And we have two other filmmakers, Brian Rupert and Victor Juarez, who are also great, and they do other shows and stuff. But the Q West, the comedy festival, is like where we can go and see all the listeners and all the fans.
Right.
So a few of us will go. Like last year, I don't know how many of us went, maybe 5 or 6. And we get to, people take pictures and we sign autographs and like there's like posters and Tell 'em Steve Dave merch and they have everybody sign them and stuff like that. It's really, really cool and fun. And the way that it works is, like I said, there's comedy shows 8 to like 11 or 11:30. And then during the day, there's all these events. Like we go to this big pool bar and there's a belly flop contest.
Yeah.
There's a big like butterfly, almost like a butterfly zoo type thing.
Right.
I'm sure it's not huge. And Ming, one of the guys involved, did like a tour of it dressed as a butterfly.
Fun.
And, this just, then there's like a meetup with everybody. It's just different things all day long. It's Friday starting probably around 5 and then all day Saturday and then Sunday until probably like 12. There's like a meetup and stuff. And so we went down, very, very expensive. Q put us on like the VIP list. So we, our tickets were taken care of and stuff, which is cool.
Nice.
And, and then we do everything. We go to all the shows and all this stuff. And so it was fun. We met up with different people that were listeners and like we have tons. It's weird because it's like they're listeners and they're fans of the show, but eventually you meet them 10 times and like they're kind of like friends that you catch up with and you see what's going on and you get to know them. And then there's other people that have become involved with the show.
Yep.
Like Jimmy the Hair Guy, I first met at an event at Kevin Smith's Movies Theater. And he was like, oh my God, and he took a picture with me. And like, that's the first time I met him.
Right.
And eventually he became involved in the show. And now he's one of my very close friends.
Yes.
Very funny little Tasmanian devil type guy.
Foul mouth Tasmanian devil.
He has a foul mouth.
He really does.
Yeah, he really does. And we're not talking about just his teeth. We're talking about the things.
The
he
language,
says.
yeah.
So we went down. We had there was all that stuff. We did all that stuff. And so when they do Space Monkeys, that show that I was saying with just 2 of the guys from Tell 'em Steve Dave, they usually bring up the Tell 'em Steve Dave guys.
Yeah.
Which we did on the cruise, the Impractical Jokers cruise, and I was up on that. And then last year I was up on the Space Monkeys at Key West, like I said. And so this year what happened was they did Space Monkeys and it was like, okay, the final night is going to be the Tell 'em Steve Dave night where they bring up all the Tell 'em Steve Dave people. And there was like 9 of us backstage.
Right.
Me, Frank Five, Jimmy the Hair Guy, Troy, all these different people. Ming and Get 'em, one of the guys. Total of 9,
Okay.
including Brian and Q. And so, I was going into it, and I'm gonna get honest here. So please, listeners, keep this between the listeners. You know what I mean? Because I want to kind of talk about something. Basically, what happened was for Space Monkeys, Q and Brian called up all those Tell 'em Steve Dave people. Out of the 9 of us,
Right.
8 of us were on stage, and I was the only one that wasn't called up. And it really felt exclusionary. Is that a word?
It is.
I really felt excluded. And it wasn't a thing where I'm like, hey, I want to be on stage.
Right.
Like if like Brian and Q were just doing Space Monkeys by themselves.
Right.
It wasn't that. It was kind of like the whole weekend is almost all Tell 'em Steve Dave people. I
Right.
think they mostly sell the tickets through the Patreon at first.
Yeah.
And like, so huge percentage, honestly, maybe almost 100% are Tell 'em Steve Dave listeners. Or a Tell 'em Steve Dave listener and their significant other who's
Right.
learning about it as
Yep.
the weekend goes on.
Yep.
Why do you want to take a picture with this man named Get 'em that's missing teeth?
Yep.
Is probably a question that many girlfriends ask
Yeah.
throughout the weekend. But it's weird because like when we film, we're all there's rarely like a ton of us together.
Right.
It does happen once in a great while. Like it usually happens for Christmas. But we're rarely all together. So a ton of us were together for this, obviously. And we're all kind of separated throughout the weekend because you kind of do your own thing.
Yeah.
This person has lunch with this person goes to the butterfly thing, but
Yeah.
this one doesn't.
Natalie's famously terrified of butterflies, wouldn't go.
Exactly.
Couldn't drag her in there if you tried.
Yes. So we're all kind of scattered, but we see each other in passing,
Yeah.
or we hang out or a couple of us hang out, whatever. And the whole thing on stage, the Space Monkeys with the Tell 'em Steve Dave people, is kind of like the only time we all are together and all the listeners get to see all of us together
Right.
doing a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was left out of that after being part of it last year and Space Monkeys on the cruise and all this stuff, man, it like killed me.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because I'm like, I just want to be on stage or
Right.
something. It was because it was my group of people.
Right.
And it felt like because of that, it's like, oh, this isn't your group of people.
Right.
You're not really part of this. Or you're so low on the totem pole that we don't consider you as
Right.
part of this. And it really was like, it really soured the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I felt so othered. That's a word, right?
I think it is becoming a word if it hasn't already become a word.
Yeah. And it's tough because it's like, it's a weird thing. And I've always had there's always been this weird connection between creativity and friendship.
Yes.
In terms of like my life, because I was in a band starting in 2002 or 3. I think we started practicing in 2002 and played our first show in 2003.
Lollapalooza 2020 or 20. Damn it.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Give it up. You misspoke. Go in the corner. Wear your dunce cap. No, your misspoke hat.
Yep.
And it's tough because like with the band, like it was 4 friends.
Yeah.
Or I should say 3 friends at first, then a 4th friend. And then it's after that, we started filming videos for the band.
Yeah.
Like we had a 4-piece band. Then we decided to start making comedy videos to promote our shows and
Right.
our releases. And that expanded to probably like 12 people.
Right.
It was all our other friends, some of which were writing, some of which were acting in them, whatever.
Some of which were unwilling participants when you took a lobster into their bedroom.
Exactly. We did some prank stuff
Yep.
for sure. And so that has always been like a group of friends. And everything I've been part of creatively has kind of been friends. Like now it's Funbearable. Me and you are
Yep.
friends. And we started our podcast in 2009.
Yes.
Is when we started podcasting together. I'm just looking at the cameras.
We haven't stopped recording since.
Yeah, exactly. It's a long time.
A lot of SD card space.
Yeah, a lot of yeah. I can't find a server that
Yep.
will hold this. But yeah, so like that we're friends. Then I started working with Tell 'em Steve Dave, and I became friends with tons of those guys. Then I started working with Tuesdays with Stories, And we had some rocky beginnings. We had some riffs at first.
Yeah.
Joe List and Mark Norman, that podcast. And now it feels very comfortable, and we're very jovial, and we're friendly, and
you guys sleep head to toe in bed when you record.
Yeah. But it's always fun when we're like, hey, we hang out every week to do the podcast, and it's like podcast, ads, bonus, and we're together for like 2 or 2.5 hours every week, and we just joke around, and it's fun, and So it's always been creative people with friends. And Tell 'em Steve Dave has a lot more people that I'm actually close friends with. Like Brian Rupert is a close friend of mine. Jimmy the Hair Guy is a close friend of mine. Tom Milashevsky is a good friend. Frank Five. All these people are Get 'em. All these people are friends. And Q is kind of like a little bit of a mentor to me.
Yeah.
And then Brian Nichelle is part of it. And he's a director in television, and he's kind of a mentor to me. So we're all like, close. And I moved to New York in 2021, and that's where Tell 'em Steve Dave is based. They're based in New Jersey, right across the bridge from where I live, and that's where we film, is in our studio and stuff. And so there in New York, where I am most of the time, Tell 'em Steve Dave is kind of my group of people. And it's a little tough because a lot of us live far apart, or a lot of us have families, and it's hard to spend a lot of time together. But we all talk all the time. You're part of the group chat. Brad's part of the group too.
Yep.
And
I haven't figured out how to leave the group chat.
Yeah, I don't think you can with text.
Yeah, I'm
You're
working
stuck,
on it.
baby.
Working on it.
Yeah. I do turn off alerts sometimes when there's
sometimes.
like a million things.
But
I always catch. I always catch up.
If I'm driving or I'm going to be somewhere, like it's, I just learned how to mute like 2 months ago.
Yeah,
this is part of like me being old and misunderstanding technology. Where I'm like, what do you mean you can make it not buzz for that text, but all the other ones can? Like
Brad uses a stylus on his phone
I
to
do.
type.
I do. Yeah. If you've seen the Flintstones, I have a little bird that just pecks out the messages very fast. You do not want to see what I use for toilet paper.
Yeah. It's a living. I think that's a Family Guy joke.
I think so too.
There's something happens like that. It really made me feel like I'm not part of this group. And I think it's worse because it's a weird group. It's a really weird group with like certain people are in charge of certain things, and certain people are kind of more invited into the world.
Yeah.
And, the main guy is Walt Flanagan. He's the main guy that kind of like, he's one of the 3 hosts, of course, but he also like runs all the video projects and all the audio projects, those weekly things. It's kind of, everything is kind of up to him, and he does a killer job, and he's really, really funny and really creative and really smart. And I think he really respects what I do from a filmmaking standpoint.
Okay.
I think that he really thinks that that I do a good job with that stuff, and I'm really happy with that. And my viewpoint, which I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, is like there's talent, and then there's also skill, which I think is different. And I kind of feel like I've done so much filmmaking. Like I started filming little projects when I was in like 7th grade with my friends, with my cousins and all this stuff, that it's like, even if you have a little bit of an inkling into filmmaking, if you've spent as much time as I have and done so many projects as I have, you would be at a high level. It's not so much like I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
It's like I put a lot of time into this. It has to do with practice and the 10,000 hours, whatever it is. So I don't really have like, especially in filmmaking, I don't really have an ego about it. I really feel like it's more like just the more you do it, the smoother your stuff is going to be. And I really appreciate the fact that he thinks that I have good skill in that area. But he's still my boss. And because he's in charge of everything, I kind of deal with Walt the most. And I already have this feeling that I'm very low on the totem pole of the group. And sometimes I even feel like disliked by, people towards the top of it.
Right.
And not disliked like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like when compared to other people and the way that they're included, not even on mic or whatever, I feel a little bit like a last thought or not even considered for different things. And the problem is this, it's like, how much of that is me making it up?
Right.
How much of it is my own worry and paranoia. And we've talked
Yeah.
a lot on the podcast about how we're like very sensitive.
Yes.
All of us.
Yeah.
Back when we had another co-host, it's like we all talked about how sensitive
we're sensitive
we were.
boys.
Yeah, soft boys.
Yep.
And so when you already have that kind of feeling, and another dynamic here is like these guys are all the guys who started it and the people who are guests, they're closer in age to like mid 50s.
Yep.
A lot of the main guys that eventually came
Still
in.
young.
Yes.
Young. Spring chickens, some would say.
Yeah, for sure. And now there are guys that are coming in where like, I think Jimmy's like 37.
Yeah.
I think Rupert might be like 38 or something like that. I'm 41.
Yep.
Like, and Tom Milishevsky, how old is he?
Probably 40-ish.
40-ish.
Yep.
All these people are kind of like the younger generation. So you already have this dynamic where not only are the people at the top,
Right.
your bosses and the people that should be in charge, but they're also a lot like they're your elders essentially, especially.
And they're their own peers.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're their own peers, and we're like,
Yeah.
a different level of that. So I already have this feeling of like being like low on the totem pole, like, whatever. But it's mixed with me putting so many hours into this.
Right.
Like I probably put a lot more hours into this than a lot of the other guys that are on the younger side.
Right.
Like I'm sure Victor, who is a filmmaker,
Yeah.
does a lot of stuff. I'm sure Rupert puts in a lot of hours as well. But besides that, the people that are more involved on mic and on camera, they put a lot less time in.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of what the
Right.
thing is.
What the role is. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm trying to make a really good video and it takes me 35 hours to make the video at the quality that I'm hoping to get to, and one guy goes in to film a podcast for an hour and a half, that's his one project.
Right.
And my one project is the 35.
Yeah.
So it's really tough because Tell 'em Steve Dave dominates my life a lot of the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's if you average it out, I probably work on it like 15 to 20 hours a week, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Or maybe not 52 weeks a year, but like at least like 45 weeks a year.
Right.
Because I try to do a project every other week, but it doesn't always work out like that. Once in a while, it's every 3 weeks or whatever. Plus I'm filming.
Yeah.
Plus I'm putting in the time to actually go film and come up with stuff. And I'm thinking about it all the time. And sometimes Walt will be like, oh, what do you think about this? Like he'll have me and you write some stuff once in a while for like different reenactments they do, or tiny sketches that we do at the beginning or the end of some videos. So you kind of feel like you're not really well liked, or at least like not really part of the group in some way, or looked at as very, very low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So you already have that kind of dynamic in a group like this, in a creative group where it's like, this completely independent project that has so many listeners that there's actual money coming into the business. They're making stuff with a ton of people listening to it and reacting to it. There's a big subreddit where people comment on everything.
Oh, they sure do.
And it's like Twitter, it's everywhere. People are commenting, and your listener base is very visible because of that. And like I said, there's once in a while, there's these events, like there were 2 last year at least, events of all the listeners getting together. Often they do Black Friday at the studio and people come and hang out. So you do deal with these people a lot, and you get, like I said, you get to know them and they get to know your work. And it's really, really, there's a really cool side of it.
Yeah.
But that side of it where you feel like kind of not included or respected in different ways. And I'm not saying respected at all or not included at all. It's just you feel like you're, compared to different people and kind of seeing what everything is as a whole, you feel like you can just deduce where you are.
Yeah.
And so I already have that complex of feeling like that in this thing that I work on so often. And when you have weekends like QS last year, where I'm included in this way and this way and this way, and then you have it this year where I'm kind of just like not, it confirms it, or it seemingly confirms it. And you feel really, really like it sent me into like a tailspin. And I'm bringing this up because I'm sure other people deal with stuff like this
Yeah.
in their job, in their friend group, in their family, whatever. And I'm going to say right here, it was likely like, here's how many people we're going to have on, because they had the guys on for this
Right.
live podcast. They had 3 of them on, and they probably each said a sentence or two.
Yep.
Then they got rid of those 3 people and had 3 more people take their space, because there were
Yep.
so many of us. Like I said,
Right.
there was 9 of us. And those people said like a sentence or two for the most part.
Yeah.
And then 2 of the guys were part of this other segment that was really fun. But so it could likely be just like there's so many of us that we didn't get everybody in.
Right.
There could be other stuff behind it. Like
Yep.
on the Tell 'em Steve Dave Christmas episode, which I was on, someone brought up that I told a story on stage last year that was too blue,
Ooh,
too
okay.
obscene.
Yep.
And
Blue Christmas.
and I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Q, who
Yeah.
was at the top of Key West, and I asked him, and he seemed like it wasn't a big deal at all. He's like, I
Right.
forgot about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But maybe that's why they didn't call me up.
Yeah.
Because I told this obscene story last year.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like a big deal whatsoever.
Right.
So that would be kind of surprising.
Well,
It could be nothing.
Yeah, it could be, like, oh, Chuck did this last, it's not like they have never liked you. And
Right.
I say liked you in the sense of like included you in an onstage thing,
Yeah, exactly.
because they have.
And yeah, exactly. And I like, again, this isn't like a thing where I'm like, I wanted to be on stage. I just
Yeah.
want to make it clear. It was about the idea of 8 of the 9 of us being invited and 1 of us not. And feeling like that's where we all communicate. That's where we all get together and celebrate what we do.
Yeah.
Celebrate this thing that I spend so much of my time on. That's kind of the only place we all get together and get to do it, especially with the listeners there. So it was really a bum out to not be included. But and like I said, I'm open to acknowledging it was probably not a huge deal
Right.
on like in terms of the planning, whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was, I've got to be honest, or maybe it was, and they made a decision. They're
Yeah.
like, no. And even if it was like, we only have room for so many people,
Right.
it still sucks to be the guy that's
Yep.
picked last.
the cheese that stands alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Can I tell you, 1,000 years ago,
I want to hear your take on this.
I took improv classes at Improv Olympic in Chicago. It's no longer there, but it's fine. And went through, I took level 1 summer, level 2 the next summer, and it's essentially 6 levels. And then, took time off, whatever, started my job at Walgreens, and then took 3, 4, 5, and 6 in a row. 8-week class, 1 week off, next 8 weeks, whatever. And then at the end of level 6, you have an 8-week performance run on the second stage with the group you just graduated from level 6 with. It was called 5B, but it's level 6. And then at the end of that, maybe you get put onto a new team that performs like twice a month on the main stage, a Herald team. And so we go through, our class was 17 people. I didn't have a lot of confidence as a person or performer. I was usually one of the last ones to get on stage,
yeah.
whatever. And teams came out, and I wasn't on a team. There were 2 of us from our class that were left off, and there was 1 kid or 1 dude from the other level 6, show that was left off. So 3 total people of 30 left off.
Yeah.
And it hurt. And it felt really like, I have all my emails from that time because it was such an important thing to me. Like the whole class was of like me writing to somebody like, hey, congratulations. And he's like, awesome. Congratulations to you too. I'm like, actually, I didn't make the team.
Yeah.
So I went and I said, all right, I'm going to retake level 5, different instructor, just build up my game, get more reps in, be a part of this team.
Yeah.
And I took level 5 and, the guy teaching, I'm like, no, you're the reason I came to Improv Olympic. Like he was part of the Second City Tour Co. that came to Bradley and did a show, and we went out afterwards. Like I went out with the whole team and talked with them, and it was so cool. And so I felt like, all right, well, I wish I were on a team with all the people I had done all these classes with, but I feel better about my chances of making a team now.
Okay.
October 31st, All Hallows Eve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Spooky.
I was working at Walgreens at the time, and I was scheduled for the overnight shift because we have to shift everything from Halloween merchandise to Christmas merchandise.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there 10 p.m. until 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And I had worked that day, like 8 to 4, so I'm off for 6 hours, whatever. Try to sleep. Of course, I don't sleep. It's middle of the day. 9:30, I get up and I'm getting ready to go into Walgreens, where I'm going to be again for 8.5 hours, if not longer. And I check the Improv Olympic website. I once again did not make a team, and I lost it, where I'm like, I paid so much money to do this. I'm in a terrible mood, no sleep. I go into Walgreens and they had messed up, where I was like, no, here's where you put the Halloween stuff to condense it so that I can do. They did it all wrong. I was furious. I'm throwing shelves across the store.
Oh boy.
Finally, like, the night crew leaves. It's me and one other guy. I did not say a word to him.
Yeah.
Until 3 a.m. when he said, "Hey, Brad, can I go take my lunch?" And I said, "Yes, of course." Because I was so near tears the entire time.
Man.
Because I felt so excluded.
Yeah.
And it was awful.
Yeah.
Also, that was when my manager, she kept calling in every couple of hours. And the next day she's like, "I should go home early. I was kind of up all night with you." And I'm like, "You were at home. You were not up all night with us." She went home early.
Yeah.
Very difficult supervisor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a horrible feeling, and that drove me away from improv for years.
Really? That's why you stopped doing improv?
That's why I stopped doing improv, because I'm like, all right, well, I'm not good at it. I'm so not good at it that I'm one of 3, I'm one of the 10% that was left off of a team.
Yeah.
And for me, it was over an hour-long drive, like, each way to get there. I'm paying for parking. To this day, I think if I had been put on that first team, with all my friends, I think I would have moved to Chicago and worked at a Walgreens in Chicago and pursued improv there.
Wow.
And then I don't go to Arkansas, and I don't
come
to UMass Dartmouth, and I don't start the Chuck and Brad podcast.
Yeah, right.
And the world is worse because of it.
Of course.
So even at the time, I'm like, this is the worst. God bless the broken road that led me to Funbearable.
God bless the broken road. Is that your own thing?
No.
You heard that somewhere?
Oh, that's like a Rascal Flatts song or something.
Oh.
If you go to somebody's second wedding, that's their song.
Can I tell you? Side note.
Yeah. We're well aside now.
Well, that's it. I want to have that viewpoint.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I'm going to continue about a little bit more of my spiral.
Yep.
So I think the Rascal Flats.
Yep.
Wow. Rascal Fats. That's a parody one where we're dressed in the big
I'll
suits.
say this: Rascal Frats are they're doing panty raids, they're doing keg parties, and the dean is
Toga,
these rascal frats.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Rascal Flats. Life is a Highway.
Yep.
It is the weirdest thing ever because it is the perfect ironically enjoy it song and fucking legitimately enjoy it song. I love that song.
Do you prefer the Tom Cochran version or the Rascal Flatts version?
I don't know about Tom
Cochran was the original one.
It's a cover.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a cover.
Yeah, I think so.
I got to listen to the original.
All right.
But there is so much cheese to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a cheesy song. But when it comes on, I'll listen to it 10 times in a row.
Yeah, you're hopping and bopping.
I no exaggeration, 10 times in a row I'll listen to Rascal
Yeah, it's
Flatts.
wonderful when you're on a road trip with Chuck and that comes on.
I'm like, I want to hear if the bass does something different on the second verse. Oh, there's a different note.
Yep. C sharp.
But it's shocking. I love it. I have a sketch idea using it. And I'd love to. I love the song both ironically and legitimately,
Nice.
and I can't think of another thing that I feel like that about.
Okay.
It's so unique.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the whole thing.
Yep.
So it really made me bummed out. I
Yeah.
really was like, man, my role in this group, like, what is this like? And I mean, I'll be honest. I think a lot of people from the outside are like, man, like, and I know this because they write in, they DM me. they're like, oh, you're doing this great work. Like you're in such a cool position. You work with Tell 'em Steve Dave. You work with Mark Norman and Joe List. You work, you do your own podcast. You do your own stuff. And people think that it's like
You're driving Brad to get him to sleep at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a reference to a different
Last week's,
episode.
yeah.
Well, probably sometime in the future.
Oh,
episode.
come on.
Well, it's Mandalorian release date.
Yeah, that's
is
true.
like
All right.
June or something. But it's an upcoming episode.
That's a teaser.
It's a teaser. So it's our baby reboot episode.
Yep.
That's a little peek behind the curtain. No, so it's like I think people think that I'm in a really cool position. I'm doing this cool stuff. And of course, you want to also appreciate that and appreciate the things that you have and stuff. On the other hand, I do feel like more often, like times 100, I focus on the fact that I'm 41.
Yep.
I don't make that much money.
Some 41.
Yes, I'm 41. I'm lucky in that I make enough to support, living with my girlfriend in New York. And I'm lucky that I have a friend in Rhode Island, Jordan Furtado, who lives in the house that I bought when I was like, I don't know how old, 27.
Yep.
And so he's helpful in supporting that, really helpful.
Anything else you're grateful for?
Well, I'm talking about my life as as a creative person, but I make the money I make, like I don't have a 401k,
right?
And I'm 41, and I really can't save anything.
Yeah.
Like by the end of the year, when I pay my taxes, and this is getting into the nitty gritty, I don't save any money every year.
Yeah.
So I'm making enough to survive, but I'm also making this big sacrifice financially to pursue this.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm appreciative for the gigs I have with Tuesdays with Stories and Tell 'em Steve Dave, like I'm not really like I'm adding to my reel.
Right.
But both of these situations I'm not really moving forward in any way. I'm just making stuff that most of the time I enjoy making and working with my friends like Jimmy and Rupert and Tom and Get 'em and all these different people.
What does moving forward look like? Like, are you directing episodes of Supergirl? Or are you
moving forward for me?
I mean, sure. Other than the pilot that we shot last month.
So moving forward, I mean, including that, it's like making our own project that would be successful. Like we shot this pilot. If that got picked up, not just by like a streamer or like a cable station or something, but also because we're living in this new time, is there a YouTube channel that's going to become, hey, we have all these comedy shows and we make them. And instead of having a budget of $100,000 an episode, which you might get from TBS or something like that, maybe the budget is $20,000 an episode because you're on YouTube or you're on a different independent platform or something like that. Like you talk about Dropout TV,
I do.
And it's like, you can explain it for the people.
Dropout is essentially a comedy streaming network, formerly College Humor. And so they do a lot of, it's weird because they do a lot of games where there's some improv games and there's some like board games that they play with these personalities that have been around doing improv, doing other games. And they've really created their own ecosystem of, I like this person as a performer. A lot of LA improvisers and comedians. I think Vic Michaelis hosts a show called Very Important People.
Yeah.
And what they do is, let's say Chuck Staten is the guest. Chuck Staten gets a bunch of makeup, a bunch of crazy makeup.
Yeah.
Doesn't see what the makeup is. It comes out and has to be in character and gets interviewed by Vic.
Yeah.
And shenanigans ensue.
Yeah.
Vic was nominated, I think, for an Emmy.
Wow.
So it's so self-contained where it's rare.
Explain the income aspect.
Yeah, the income aspect is people pay $5 or $6 a month and they get access to all these old seasons of the improv show Make Some Noise, the bizarre It Changes Every Time game show called Game Changer, some D&D type shows, other game shows, and then some brief web series and now Dropout is acquiring and distributing different either stand-up comedy specials or kind of like if the show we did, if they're like, hey, we're going to give you a budget, or we filmed 8 episodes, maybe Dropout buys it to distribute it or whatever. So something like that.
And these creative people can support themselves through this subscription service.
Yeah, it's a gig. They're getting paid to be on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, in terms of moving forward, I always have had this idea that if you're flexible about the things you want to do creatively,
Yeah.
the things you want to accomplish, you're in a better position than someone's like, I just want to be this.
Right.
I just want to be this, because you end up saying no to gigs.
Yeah.
For me, moving forward, being happy, I want to be able to make enough money to live comfortably and support a family.
Yeah.
Which is another sacrifice. Like, that's one of the things too, is like, not only am I sacrificing being able to save money and having a 401k and that kind of stuff, I'm also sacrificing living where I want to live.
Yep.
I don't really want to live in New York. I want to live in Rhode Island, where I grew up, and like my family's here, my friends are here. Because I was in a band here for 15 years, we've been doing the podcast for 16 years.
1,000 years.
And I was a food journalist for 3 years, which means I was in the journalism scene and the food scene. Because I've been in all these scenes with all these other creative people, there's a lot of connections here all across the board.
Yeah.
And I can do creative projects here, like our live comedy shows. If we were going to do a senior discount, my band, if we were going to do some kind of one-off show or an acoustic thing, I could do that if I was here. Again, be with my family, be with my friends, and have some familiarity with all these different people. I'd 100 times rather do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a kid, and I could do that here, and it's going to be really hard to do that in New York, especially if I'm not making enough money to even have a 401k or savings, really. And to be clear, I did save a lot of money when I was younger, so it's not like I don't have any savings, but I just can't continue to save as I've been working creatively.
Can I do a little joke?
Yeah.
Chuck Staten just admitted that he sacrificed a baby. Sort of.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I'll let it slide.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm making a lot of sacrifices to pursue this thing. And in terms of success, what success would look like to me is I'm living comfortably.
Right.
I'm making enough money to have a 401k and save decent amount and able to support a family. And in terms of the actual jobs that I'm doing, I'd love to podcast more on mic and on camera. I want to write comedy more.
Yep.
I really don't ever get a chance to write unless it's with me and you for our independent projects where we don't make any money.
Right.
And I'd love to direct more. And so if you ask me, what do I want to direct? Like, I'd love to be in charge of directing, like some kind of television show or some kind of serialized thing. And like I said, because we're in 2026, that doesn't necessarily mean on television. It could mean some sort of streaming thing where people are like Dropout or like a YouTube channel that's making money off of advertising and whatever. And so I'm open in those directions, but that's what I want to do. And so I get little pieces of that by working with Tell 'em Steve Dave, or little pieces of that working with Tuesdays with Stories. But to be honest, with Tuesdays with Stories, I don't really get to do what I want.
Yeah.
Mark and Joe are really wicked funny. They're like my 2 favorite comics, which is why I reached out to them.
I'm number 3.
Yeah. And I'm lucky that they let me in, and I'm lucky that I make a living there. And sometimes my ideas get used and stuff like that. And I did direct a series, a documentary series behind a paywall with Tuesdays called Hot Gay Sets, which is following them around doing their sets and kind of explaining their where they are in comedy and how they're progressing and what they're doing and all this kind of stuff. So I did get to direct a series like that I came up with behind the scenes. I film it, I edit it, I direct it. And so that feels really, really cool that I did that. We don't really do that anymore. But I don't really want to go sit there, set up microphones and lights and a camera and just watch people podcast while I film. And then just put out a podcast of someone else. I don't really want to do that.
Right.
I'm capable of doing that. I think I know Mark and Joe's sensibilities. I think I helped their Patreon a lot, and we came up with a lot of good ideas there. And it's fun to talk to them and hang out with them. But as a job, it's not really what I want to do or fulfilling in a creative way. It's a piece of what I have skills to do.
Okay.
And with Tell 'em Steve Dave, it goes back and forth between those two things where I do feel creatively fulfilled. However, there is a lot of the stuff that is like, I just have to do it as part of it. Like, for example, just sitting there as everyone else films, or like syncing audio and video, like the technical stuff, which I do have employees and they help out a lot with. And there's a lot of technical stuff that they help me with. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you've said 2 of your 3 employees are great.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Brad's stirring the pot.
Yep. What's in that pot?
Toffee.
Cement?
Toffee.
And so moving forward would be like doing that kind of stuff. And that's why when I get a chance with Tell 'em Steve Dave to be on mic, it's really way more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I work really hard to make that as good as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm just brought up during a live show, all I can do is try to be fun and funny and lively on stage. But when I do my shows on the Patreon for Tell 'em Steve Dave, I really, really try to make them unique and good and high quality.
Yeah.
But so I felt so left out in Key West. It really soured the weekend for me. I felt like I'm not part of the group. I'm not looked at as part of the group, even though I've been working there for 10 years and I put so much time in. And when I do get on mic, A, I really put a lot of work in, and B, the stuff that I've done on Patreon on mic, where I host shows, has gotten a really good response.
Yeah.
And people have been vocal about that. So it's a bum out to still be kind of considered not one of those guys. Right. But it really sent me into this spiral where it's like, I started looking at everything. It started affecting everything. I'm like, with Tuesdays with Stories, I got a lot of hate when I first came in.
Yes.
When I would talk minimally on mic. And that has luckily subsided, and a lot of people are very supportive. And I really don't talk on mic very much. Anyway, I'm off screen and they just kind of ask me questions. It's a very small amount of the show. Like, I'm talking like 1% or less. And I feel like, okay, so there I'm not really treated like a real creative most of the time. And that I'm not criticizing Joe and Mark. It was their show for I don't know how many years before I came in, so it doesn't even make sense that I would be considered to be on mic there at all. That's not what I'm trying to do, and it's not what I'm saying I should be doing. But I know that that's not considered that way there. So it's like, okay, well, that doesn't count as me being looked at that way. Then I think of our projects.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of Funbearable. I'm really proud of the Chuck and Brad podcast, which we used to do. I'm really proud of our film projects and our live shows.
Oh my gosh, our series of adult films?
Well, you call them adult films.
Yes.
I don't know if most people would consider them adult films.
Look, I was an adult when I was in it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're misusing the term.
Brad learns how the postal service works.
What the hell?
Whoa!
So I think about our projects, which I love and we put so much time into, but there's still projects that are not super successful.
Yep.
And we don't make any money from them.
Yep.
So it's more like we get to like practice our skills, and we have this core fan base of the podcast that we really appreciate. And it's really, really cool to have those people that actually care a lot. However, it's been really hard to move forward.
Yep.
So I start thinking like, well, if the Tell 'em Steve Dave guys kind of look at me as this low on the totem pole, like not part of this, whatever kind of thing, which I feel like often in this QS thing really hammered that home.
Yeah.
And in Tuesdays, I don't have any creative, stuff, input for the most part, where I also spend a lot of my time on doing it, and it has to be a priority in my life. Every week, I have to plan my week around when Joe and Mark are able to record.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of precedence. And when I can't be there, I feel bad. And by the way, I feel lucky at Tuesdays because they're pretty cool about me not being there.
Right.
I still feel guilty. And when it happens a couple weeks in a row, I get nervous about like, are they going to be like, hey, what are you doing? And then we have our projects, which, you know, we struggle to get people to our shows.
Yes.
And they're not crazy well attended, although we're lucky with people coming out a lot of times. We have a smaller podcast. Technically, this podcast is in the top 2% of all podcasts globally, which is cool, but it's also counting podcasts that did like one episode or the podcasts that are like sound like shit, whatever. And like I said, we have a fan base that we're really lucky to have those people, but it's a really small fan base. We don't make any money from it.
Right.
And with our film projects over the years, very similar thing where some people really care about it, but it was really hard to move forward.
Yeah.
So when you take all that into account and you get left out of this thing where you thought you really hoped you belonged. That's the thing is like, I'm not like, oh, I always feel terrible about this Tell 'em Steve Dave thing, or I always feel like no one, it's like, it's an inkling. It's like, do I feel like this? Like, there's a lot of evidence to support that I'm low on the totem pole. And then there's evidence to support that I'm not low on the totem pole, but I gravitate towards the negative. You start feeling like, well, what am I? Like, am I not good? Am I like pursuing this stuff where I'm just not good enough to do it?
Yeah.
And it threw me into a tailspin. And what's crazy is like we were doing our pilot, which we've worked on for 6 months. We're grinding, we're writing. I'm having meetings with all the guys. Like we had a real TV crew come and film it. We raised a lot of money and to film it. And I was all excited. I was editing the pilot. When I came back from Q West, I was like discouraged. I was discouraged. I'm like, is it good? Was I good in it? Like, did we come up with good stuff?
I mean, I was good.
Yeah. And it really like took the wind out of my sails, even about our independent creative projects.
That has nothing to do.
It has nothing to do with that.
QS,
It was just like, is this an if these people who I've worked with for 10 years and try really hard to do a good job on mic and off, if they consider me that low on the totem pole after so long and I'm 41 years old, then what does that mean for what I am in general? And what does that mean for my work in general? What does that mean for the future and getting to where I want? Because you already struggle, and I'm sure you do too. You struggle with like, is this worth it?
Yes.
Like, you know, especially for me, my whole life is creative work. I don't have a real job. I haven't had a real job in a long time.
I haven't had a real job in 3.5 years.
It's true too. But you have experience and you have this history. Like, what if am I going to be 51 where I'm making the same amount of money and I feel this bad and low on the totem pole in all these ways and not really respected creatively by different people? Do I continue? When do I throw in the towel? You know what I mean? Like, that's a huge thing that like all of us, a lot of people that are creative that I know struggle with. And speaking of which, like even Ray, our old co-host, leaving the podcast and then dropping out of the pilot kind of last minute. Like we had this 6-month time frame and Ray dropped out 6 weeks before we filmed. And I have talked to him openly about this before any of this stuff, about how I feel.
Fortunately, we got Snuffleupagus to replace him.
Which Snuffleupagus, is he imaginary? Is he real? I think he was confirmed to be real.
He was confirmed to be real. I think we may have talked about this on Funbearable at some point, where it was the idea of they didn't want kids to tell things to adults that adults didn't believe, in case the kids were being somehow contacted inappropriately.
Snuffleupagus became real because of molestation?
Yes.
I don't know if I love that.
Nope. I mean, granted, you picked the worst possible way to phrase it, but
that's very funny.
Thank you.
But with Ray, and like this isn't a slight on Ray. This is just true. I always felt like he didn't really respect me creatively too. And like again, this isn't a knock on Ray. This is about my personal feelings. And I want to make it clear, I talked to him openly about this multiple times, and he assured me that wasn't the case.
Right.
Like he it wasn't a thing where I'm like, I felt like this. And I openly talked about this, but I still felt like this.
Yeah.
Especially when he left the podcast, especially when he dropped out of the pilot. I felt like, oh, he doesn't believe in my projects or my abilities or what I bring to the table. Which adds to this, like into a very, very deep way. And, there's all the bullshit of social media. You put out the episode, it doesn't get that many views.
Yep.
You put out clips and they don't get that many views.
Yep.
You do all this stuff and you're working wicked hard on this stuff. And of course, I recognize we're competing with ultra celebrities. We're competing with YouTube personalities. We're competing with people who, and I know people like this, who have dedicated their lives to like learning about algorithms and learning about internet promotion and SEO and stuff like that, where we don't really do that and don't have the time to do it on top of the creative stuff. And I understand all that.
Man, we do get a bunch of people writing into funbearablepod@gmail.com telling us that they could control it. However, none of their names make sense.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's just 8 letters at random, then a space, and then a different 8 letters sometimes. From like an at another 8letters.com.
Yeah, and if you don't get that joke, it's like when you do podcasting and all this stuff, you constantly get bombarded with emails and DMs about people who are like,
I can help grow your podcast.
I can help grow your podcast. And it's just these bizarre names with no profile picture.
Yep.
Just send me $150. But
they're like, have you considered clips? And it's like, yeah, if you look at our stuff, you'll notice that we've posted 3 clips a week, basically every week for the past 3.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I know deep in my head, like I said, all that stuff. Of course, I know that. But at the same time, you're putting this work in every week. And I think that might be part of the crux of it, is how much my life is spent on all these projects where I don't really feel like either respected by an audience or respected by the people I work with or considered like a part of it. And yeah, so it sent me into this tailspin about all this stuff. What am I doing with my life? Like, and there's a relationship aspect, the friendship aspect of like, how do you look at me and all this kind of stuff. And it's been really weird. It's been really weird to deal with this. It's been like, a week and a half since then. And I still feel the same.
Yeah.
I still feel the same way. And I don't think the right thing to do is to talk to anyone about it that's in charge.
Right.
Because I feel like it comes, and I openly admit this comes off as like petty, and it does come off as like, I want to be there, but it's really more about inclusion in a group that you believed you were a part of.
Yeah.
And a group that you kind of suspected sometimes that you're not really a part of it for whatever reason. And there's even I'll be honest about this, and I wasn't going to be honest about this. There's even little things now where it's like, when we were trying to raise funding for the show, right? We really believe in the show. Like Ray, when he was part of it, wasn't even sharing that stuff.
Yeah.
When we would do live shows, Ray would barely promote them with us. With other people I work with in the other camps I was talking about, some of the people will openly communicate with other members of that group online, and it really makes it feel like we're all together, and they'll completely ignore me. They'll ignore my posts and I'll ignore my whatever, even promoting our stuff.
Right.
Even if I put up, hey, I hosted this thing, it's out today, and
it doesn't get amplified.
It doesn't get amplified by the people I work with, where other people that would do this and say like, I worked on this, that would get amplified. It feels like I'm, it feels like I'm excluded. It feels like I'm not appreciated. It feels like they're saying, well, we're not as, I'm not excited about your projects, or I'm not really excited about stuff that you're involved in.
Yeah.
And as petty as that is, it really is an indicator of excitement. It really is an indicator of,
because it's what you have.
I believe in you. It's the only way to see that.
Yeah.
And it's the way that people in public see that.
Right.
So all this stuff kind of came in, and it really made me feel terrible about myself.
Right.
And terrible about the work that I do, and terrible about the way that I'm spending my time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, am I spending my time working on projects where I'm just not really appreciated or included or looked at as important.
Yeah.
And so I've been dealing with that, and it's like, I'm stuck in this mode. I'm stuck in this mode of like, what am I doing with my time? Should I give up? Like, even creatively, personally, how do people look at me from a personal standpoint? Are they like, oh, I don't like that guy?
Yep.
And there are a million examples in every way, in everything I work on, because it's like Tell 'em Steve Dave Tuesdays and then our creative projects. In all those places, I have felt like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't really like this person. You know, like I said, like, you know, I'm not going to bring it up again, but like there are people I've worked with closely that I feel like don't believe in the stuff we're doing, even though we're doing it independently together.
Yeah.
And so now I'm just stuck. I'm just stuck in this. I'm stuck in this cycle of being bummed out. I think that I've talked to my friends about it. I think they're annoyed that I feel this way. And so I've just stopped talking to people about it. Yeah. And it's a weird thing.
Can I tell you a thing that happened recently that puts me in a similar boat?
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about our group chat with the Tell 'em Steve Dave extended family.
Yeah.
You recently you went to Atlantic City for a bachelor party.
Yep, which we'll talk about on an episode coming up.
I did not go on that bachelor party.
Yes.
I had a show that weekend.
Invited.
Yeah, I was invited. I don't have the money to go, quite frankly. I barely have the money to go to the wedding. It is questionable right now. Let's see here. Hey, Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. And then group pics. Jimmy with no shirt on. I hate
This is our Tell 'em Steve Dave group chat.
Yeah, it's I believe at one point, you know, we were talking about with Johnny Law.
Yeah.
Who is another guy, and he also didn't go. New baby, understandable. And our pal Brian Rupert said the only thing that would have made it better is if Johnny Law had been there. And I'm like, I'm on this chat too. And then I thought about it. And I'm like, you know what, though? He's right. I'm not going to make that Atlantic City trip better, especially when I'm broke. And I'm like, hey, Chuck, I know you ordered a steak. Could I just lick the steak before you eat it?
Yeah. Steak was amazing.
It looked great. And you know, it's fine. But it was at first I was like, well, that's hurtful.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's tough because I don't think Rupert meant it as hurtful at all. I'm sure he would have loved to talk about football with me there.
Yeah.
And his beloved Seahawks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because you talk about like you've had these feelings in all these different projects. So either nobody has believed in you in any projects, or you're carrying a little of your own baggage through all these projects, which you admit may be a possibility.
Well, it's like another thing I should, to devil's advocate myself.
Please do.
We tried to raise money for the pilot.
Yes.
Which was a lot of money to us to do this. Like,
I gave so much plasma, $25 a pop.
Yeah, no, we just raised money from random people, random backers, and we got a ton of money.
Yes.
We exceeded our budget.
Yep. And then we exceeded that, but
no, I mean,
in a bad way.
No, yeah. But I mean, like, we exceeded our budget in terms of people wanting to back us.
Right.
And so it's like, well, why am I not looking at that as an indicator of people believing in the things that I do?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of them wrote in and they're like, I'll fund Brad's scenes, but not yours. And you're like, but it's just the two of us. And they're like, we're only funding 1.5 of the 3 cameras.
Yeah. You just see a line down the middle and half of it is black where I am. But yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm trying to pull myself out of this.
Yeah. It's hard.
I even told myself, I'm like, I'm getting out of this.
Yep.
I'm getting out. And I think that helped a little bit, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still in this place where I just feel like garbage. I feel like...
See, when I say I'm still here, it's kind of a triumphant thing.
Yeah. I'm still alive.
Yeah. That song's actually not triumphant.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's bad.
I heard.
He does have a song. I think Eddie has a solo song. Eddie Vedder has a solo song called "I'm Still Here," and it's about like
dealing with stuff and making it through.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really tough. And again, I really just want to hammer it home. It's more about it's about the inclusion.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as if everyone got invited to a big dinner to celebrate Q West and I was left out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as that, basically. Mixed with a little bit of, maybe he thinks Chuck can't hang. Or by he, I just mean they. I
Yeah.
mean, tell them Steve Dave in general,
Right.
the group. And yeah, I was gonna say one more thing, but anyway, it's that's what it's about. It's about being looked at that way and being excluded and all this stuff and being looked at as less than other people. Trying to pull out of it.
Yep.
I think a lot of people probably deal with this. And that's why I think of our podcast right now. It's not huge, so we have this core fan base.
Right.
I think of it as a safe space to talk about stuff like this. And when we do talk about stuff like this, I feel like a lot of people feel heard and feel like, oh, I feel like that too.
Yeah. So
Which makes it little.
if you, as a listener or viewer, have thoughts and have you gone through similar things?
Yeah.
What pulled you out, or what helped you, or
Yeah.
what did you learn from it?
Yeah.
Or did you unintentionally exclude someone, and how did you make things right? Send us an email, funbearablepod@gmail.com, or find the email link through funbearablepod.com, or find us on socials at funbearablepod.
Yeah. And to be clear, I am really proud of the pilot and what we
Yeah.
did. It just pulls me away and it makes me
get it.
question my own stuff in it.
You know what they say? The best way to pull yourself out of a tailspin is by watching Tailspin.
Hey, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
And DuckTales.
Oh, yeah.
The way you pull yourself out of a ducktail. A duck's tail.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I just wanted to bring that up. Hopefully I'll
Yep.
feel better and we'll do an episode where I'm like, I feel better. This.
Yep.
But it's like sometimes you feel like you need a win. I mean, another thing that happened was I got hired by Impractical Jokers
Yep.
to be a camera operator.
Yep.
They didn't call me for like 3 months to
It was
do it.
hilarious.
Yep. And maybe that was an impractical joke. I mean, I knew I was a backup guy
Yeah.
and people need work. And so they're going into work. But I worked one day.
Yep.
I kind of felt like I was given an impossible task.
Okay.
Did I tell you that?
No.
Basically,
Oh, you said you got minimal training. I know that.
well, so basically, the first thing I had to do on the set,
Sorry, what was your impossible task? Make them look funny. Boom, 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 boom. Take that, IJ.
wow, that's a
I
real.
don't know if they're coming back from that.
I know that's a tough one.
Death now.
Brad Rohr said.
Yep.
I guess I did it in your voice for some
You
reason.
sure did.
There was basically we were hiding wires
Yep.
for this hidden camera thing, and there was a. You ever see like a rubber thing that you put over a doorstop?
Yes.
It was like we got hired wires under there, and there was like 13. I counted them. There was 13.
Ooh, that's not lucky.
And it's like there's like a track under it and you have to feed them through.
Yep.
So I'm trying. I tried and it was my first day.
Yep.
This is the first thing they told me to do. I didn't want to go to them and be like, excuse me, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying, hour and a half, trying, barely getting it. My
Yep.
fingers are all cut up
Yep.
because of the rubber and stuff. I'm trying to do it.
Famously sharp.
Finally, it's like it's
I'm
rubbing
teasing.
against.
Yeah.
And I finally was like, I got to give up. And I went and talked to the guy that
Yeah.
told me to do it. And he came over and looked at it. He goes, oh, yeah, this doesn't fit in this.
Nice.
And I'm like,
Are you hazing me?
I was like, okay. And I felt so dumb
Yeah.
that I spent so much time on
Yeah.
it without bringing it up to anyone. So I was like, shit, I feel like an idiot.
Yep.
Then what we did was we did this hidden camera thing where I was on a console.
Yep.
I got trained for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And I mean, this is me. There was a joystick to move the camera.
Yep.
And when I play video games, I have it inverted.
Oh.
Because
Yep.
the way I look at it, and I'll tell the audience this, like you have a joystick for the camera.
Yep.
A lot of people go, when your joystick goes up, your character looks up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's how I do it.
When you put your joystick, when you push it down, your character will look
Looks
down.
down, yep.
Right? And people are like, okay, that makes sense. But here's the thing. If you were actually holding a camera,
Right.
imagine you're holding a camera
Yep.
and your thumbs are at the back.
Yep.
Right? You're holding it forward. What happens when you push your thumbs up?
The camera points down.
The camera points down.
Yep.
And when you put your thumbs back, the camera looks up.
Yes.
So that's why I do it inverted, because I'm thinking of an actual camera.
Yeah.
That I've used 1,000 times.
Right.
So the console was set the other way. So, and then you could invert it.
Yep.
But it would invert left and right,
Oh,
which is like
yeah, nobody does that. Although I guess if you
sort of, but
Yeah.
I guess so. But it's weird because your thumbs aren't really like a joystick in
Yeah.
that way. It's
Yeah.
like more like your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
thumbs are pointing up or bringing it back,
Yeah.
but your thumbs aren't moving left to right. It's like your whole hand. So I had to keep it normal. And you have a director, like you have an earpiece in, and they're telling you what to do. And they're like, all right, go up. And then I would
Go the wrong way.
Go down and go the wrong way. And they're like, up, 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 up. And I'm like, fuck. So I kind of feel like that first thing, it's like, okay, Chuck spent an hour and a half trying to do this thing and failed, even though it couldn't be done. And I was told to do it. And then with the camera thing, it's just like I had an inverted thing. I have this thing. And so both of those things were fucked up. And then my buddy Sam Weinstein that worked on our pilot with us,
handsome fella.
He's like, here's how you wrap cables. You got to feel how this works. And I'm like, I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It was this way of like swirling it around to keep the cables curled in the way they were created to keep them lasting longest and not putting stress on them. And I couldn't do that. I was like, I've never done this before, but it was also my first time ever doing it.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the director was like, you did a good job. We'll call you. Never called again.
Right.
And now the new season has started and they didn't call me to be part of it too. So I guess that was it for me working on that show. And you know, other stuff has happened behind the scenes. Like I was working on these projects with Quinn and none of them came to fruition.
Right.
And none of those were because of something that I did.
Right.
But it still feels, it adds to, okay, well, all these other things I feel like I might be failing and it might be about my skill set and what I can bring to the table and how people look at me. Then I have these other things that I know are not my fault. I'm not worried about, okay, this is my fault. These other projects we did.
Right.
Like one of them was we shot a sizzle reel and then we just never got around to, like, they never got around to moving forward with it. I did my edit and they were like, you know, we're busy, whatever. Those are still losses. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like not only did I fuck up this stuff and I failed at this and people look at me like this, but the other stuff I work on is not going anywhere either.
Yeah.
And even though it's not my fault, it's still a loss. This is a loss. I worked for almost a year on this project that I was going to do with Quinn.
Yep.
Completely went away. Nothing to do with me, but it was all this lost time.
Yeah.
And so I just feel very low and trying to pull myself out of it.
Yep.
And I hope people empathize. I want people to feel like they're heard, like I said earlier, if they're dealing with the same kind of thing.
What if I build you one of the gliders from Tailspin?
First of all, the fact that the glider from Tailspin doesn't exist, I've said it before, it's a crime against humanity.
Yep.
You know what else I think should exist?
What's that?
Green Goblin's glider.
Yeah.
Now that's a glider.
Oh, yeah.
That's even better than the Tailspin
Yeah.
one. I feel like I could get good at that glider.
I feel like I would immediately crash.
I would die. One question about the Green Goblin glider.
Sure.
He's got nothing in his hands.
Nope.
It's just his feet.
Yep.
How does he control it?
Is it leaning back and forth like a little hoverboard?
The gas, the propulsion.
Oh, the speed. Is he
or
moving?
stopping and hovering.
Is he moving a foot forward or back? I don't know.
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything else.
Call Norman.
Our buddy Casey Jost had a remote controlled skateboard.
Yes.
And he had a button thing that controlled it. So I don't even know if there is another device. And that's another thing. Sometimes I reach out to other people I know in the creative field to be like, hey, I'm working on this thing. You kind of work on this stuff too. Could you help me and have like a talk with me about it and like whatever? And they don't write back. You follow up. They don't write back. And you feel like, well, this person obviously doesn't think I'm worth their time or doing a good job. So it's just a million things. And I think in the creative field, you just have to deal with this stuff.
Yep.
But I just feel like so much of it has added up to me. And I think about my age. I think about my lack of forward momentum, my lack of financial success and all this stuff. And it threw me into this place.
I'll say over the next year, you're going to be in even more uncomfortable places because you're going to be trying new things for a year of 1,000 rejections.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think this is part of it.
Yeah.
And it's not a fun part, but think about once you get to put these things on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's true.
How sweet that will feel.
And I want to acknowledge, I know that I've been able to slowly climb this ladder.
Yes.
And that other people I probably would be happy to get where I am. And I acknowledge that and I understand it. and I do try to appreciate it, but sometimes this kind of stuff
Yeah.
gets in the way of that.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Funbearable.
Not the funniest episode and not the funnest episode.
It's going to be rough to find clips from this guy.
You had a great
one.
joke. You had a great
Yes, I
joke
did.
that I think you could use as a clip.
Yep.
I almost said it during it.
Yep.
But
I was thinking it. But yeah, we appreciate it. We'll be there. That was my Porky Pig impression. We'll be back next week, similar time, similar place, I guess.
Yeah.
For Chuck Staten, I'm Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Thank you.
That was all fake.
Wow.
I really feel great about myself.
Yeah, I believed
None
you.
of this bothers me.
You
I'm
know
doing
what?
okay. I'm
Not even Brad.
Yeah. No, I feel weird about talking about this, but I also feel like
You got to put it out there.
you gotta be honest with yourself
Yes.
sometimes. All right, big button to close the show. What do you got?
That's all, folks.
That's not bad.
Thank you.
In a world where there ain't nothing left about, they're two special idiots now. Hear me out. Chuck's life is Friday.